So we will have many other speakers throughout the day, and without any further ado, I suggest Mrs. Sophie Primas comes to the floor. She's the chairman of the Economic Affairs Committee. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to have you here with us. You have the floor. Thank you very much for your invitation. I would like to thank all the partners. Some of you I've known for a long time, and congratulations for hosting this forum on the future of agriculture. I think it's good to take a few minutes and be far away from the media and everything that's going on today in our busy world. It's time to think about the future of agriculture. I think that doing this is also thinking about the challenges we have to take up all together. And today, I would like to share 6 key challenges with you that we need to take up together. The first of these challenges, and maybe I'll contradict what has just been said, but I think that the first challenge we must always keep in mind is the population challenge. It's a complicated one because it entails thinking about production and the volumes of production in Europe. Up until now, we've had a system consisting in feeding the citizens. But what we hear sometimes on a negative growth, on a certain number of policies which could go in this direction, are problematical because they relate to the volume of production. The world population should increase by 1 billion by 2030, another billion by 2050. So it's normal that demand is going to increase in food, and we have a big challenge here to take up. We will have to produce more, even though in countries like France, the production potential has been stagnating, even though it stayed high. So this population challenge is a great one, especially considering the fact that more people are living in cities. And in France, we have a big discussion on that. It's a major issue, and we have to take up this challenge hand in hand with that of production.
The second challenge has been discussed at length here. It's climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. We need to adapt to climate change while we try and mitigate it. This is just something that we have to do. First and foremost, we need to adapt agriculture to climate change and its consequences. We can see that this phenomenon is gaining pace and has an impact on our agricultural systems. Therefore, we need to start producing new crops. We also have new opportunities which did not exist before. So there are new opportunities, but also major changes for agriculture. And at the same time, the challenge that we are facing is the renewal of our farming practices in order to reduce our carbon emissions, both in terms of production and food system. A third challenge is that of food sovereignty. It's a significant challenge. As you know, the French Senate has been paying close attention to this for the past few years, including on our imports of food products. These imports have doubled since 2000. French citizens consume an increasing number of foods that are imported. One fruit and vegetable out of 2 is imported. The same is true for meat products. And this entails a problem in terms of food sovereignty. And I think that France needs to remain an agricultural power. This is very important at global and European level, because as you know, we are also facing strong competition within Europe. The fourth challenge that I think that we need to take up together is that of agricultural revenue. I think that when talking about those major agricultural challenges, we need to talk about agricultural revenue as well. As you know, the yield on invested capital is declining, and very often expenses are skyrocketing. Because with the transformation of the agricultural model, there are now new expenses that are not made up for by higher revenue. If we cannot solve this problem of agricultural revenue, we will not manage to change our agricultural model. I was involved in recent legislation, including the Egalim Act in France, which was aiming at equalizing the revenue of farmers, focusing on turnover, on sales. And if we do that, however, it means that we are forfeiting the expenses that are very high. Another challenge, which is also very important in France and in Europe, is the renewal of generations. We cannot have take up this challenge without the renewal of the agricultural generation. We know that most of our farmers are aged over 50. Therefore, we need to attract new farmers by the purpose that we attach to agriculture. Today, because of insufficient revenue, it's difficult for agricultures to attract a new generation. And the French Senate has offered many proposals to that extent. Another challenge is strengthening the connection between agriculture and society. I would like to thank all of the participants here today, because the connection between agriculture and society is declining because our population is increasingly urban and therefore more disconnected from feeds and farming. And I think that farmers need to open up to the rest of society and show what agriculture is about. I think that this is essential because in our current world, with all of the challenges that we are facing, including climate challenges, well, we often turn to quick fixes under the pressure of society. So it's difficult for us to face up to the global challenges that we are facing, while at the same time recognizing agriculture, its efforts, its potential, its contribution to energy savings or the circular economy. So that's why we need to strengthen the connection between society and agriculture. In order to take up all of these challenges, I think that we need to address all of these projects at the same time. I'm concerned about the common agricultural policy as it is presented to us. So I am concerned on two topics. First of all, Farm to Fork. It's a beautiful project, but clearly it runs the risk of driving us to a decline of production and production capabilities. And I think that this is a significant issue because it is threatening our food sovereignty. I do not think that we should not sacrifice quantity for quality. I think that in Europe we have a high quality agriculture. However, we should never foresee our objectives in terms of volumes. So I think that this is the risk entailed by farm to fork. It's a beautiful project, once again, but we should be careful of maintaining our volume goals. The second risk that I identified is the CAP is fact that we are sacrificing national policies which would lead to unfair competition between European countries. And very clearly, I think that this is a risk that we need to address together. And we need to fight this together. Just to conclude, and I've already mentioned it earlier, but we do not want the agricultural world to wait for the political world to act and to design the future of agriculture. We need to promote it. We should not be nostalgic of yesterday's agriculture. And I think that it is through innovation that we can bring about a revolution. And this is nothing new, because I think that agriculture is a wonderful innovation lab benefiting the whole society. And here I'm referring to Nicolas Bouzou's book, a journalist and economist who wrote that agriculture is the economic sector where we can find the greatest number of innovations. And I think that the level of innovation actually intensified over the past years. There are thousands of startup companies, SMEs in the agricultural sector. And I think that we should not forget about this. And I am convinced that to tackle these challenges, including environmental challenges, agriculture will be defined through innovation. We need to focus on genetics, digital tools, space planning, land use, and many other fields where we can focus on innovation. And this includes forestry. I think that we need to have a very proactive policies in the field of forestry. And I think that we need to build together an innovative agriculture. This is very exciting. And I think that this is what will attract the new generation to agriculture. And this is how we will ensure that we can renew the generations of farmers. And I trust you to find these innovative solutions. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing these insights on agriculture and innovation. Mrs. Primas, I would like to ask you a question. The election campaign has started. Oh, has it? Well, it's not an important day for me. Well, thank you for being here. So if we need to identify the 3 pillars for the French agricultural policy for the next 5 years, well, the 3 priorities, well, I think that we need to give a strategic role to agriculture. I think that agriculture needs to be brought back at the core of our economic strategy. Agriculture is there for food supply, for land planning, but also to tackle other challenges. We talked about energy. I think that agriculture can contribute to this. So I think that we need to define agriculture as a strategic element of our economic policy. That being said, I think that we need to strengthen innovation. As you will have understood, this is a very important topic to me. I'm really tired of these policies focusing on the past of agriculture and not ambitious enough. So what I said about the renewal of a generation, well, I think this will go through innovation. We need investment. We need to be able to try new things, to innovate in terms of methods, techniques. And I think that France should invest in this, and so should Europe. We need to invest in training, research, flexibility, and we also need to invest in the right to innovate and try new things. Thank you very much, Mrs. Prima.